Hello and Merry Vlogmas. It is 11:30 p.m. I just got home from work, so that's that. I'm a big fan of Goodreads. I read a lot of books. Goodreads has this thing every year where you set a challenge for yourself, a reading challenge. You try to read that many books in the year. Last year I read 100 books. It was way too many, and I had many a meltdowns about reaching my goal. So this year I set a nice safe goal of 35, and I just hit 35 today.
I think I've only read like 4 or 5 books this year.
I thought you were gonna say in your whole life.
Pretty much.
Whatever your book habits or your reading habits, you're fine, okay? So I just wanted to kind of go through my books that I read this year, give you guys recommendations if you want them. Maybe you guys can give me some so I can have some stuff to read in 2020. Also, if you want to add me on Goodreads, I'll link it in the description of this video. The first book I read was The Fifth Agreement, A Practical Guide to Self-Mastery by Miguel Ruiz. I think it was recommended to me on Instagram by somebody, I can't remember. And I thought, this sounds amazing. It's kind of like these 5 rules that you should live by in life. And I thought this would be a great book for my grandma. So I bought it for my grandma, and then I read the book. And I was like, oh my god, I hate this book. So I don't recommend reading it. It's a really dry read. The 5 rules are very straightforward. So if you just want to look them up and read those rules, I think you're all set. The second and third books are Howl's Moving Castle. I don't know if it's technically a graphic novel.
It's like manga?
4 is Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas, which is actually a poem. I had to read it for school. It's a really good poem. It's about death, basically just saying, fight it. The next one is Room by Emma Donoghue. I haven't seen the movie, but the book was so good. I really recommend this book. The next 2 are more parts of the Howl's Moving Castle manga. After that is Moonglow by Michael Chabon. I don't know. Chabon. Anyways, it's a semi-autobiographical book because there is stuff about him, mostly about his grandfather. It's kind of complicated. He calls it a novel because he takes some artistic liberties. It was frankly kind of disturbing. I don't really know if I recommend it, so I mean that one's on you if you want to read it. The next book is What Happened by Hillary Clinton. I didn't really enjoy this book. I'm not going to get into it. Next on the list is The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. I absolutely love this book. If you like spies, if you like drama and mystery, female-led books that take place in the... Oh, actually it takes place in the First and Second World War. There's 2 timelines going on. This book is just so freaking good. I really recommend this book. Next book is To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I can't remember if I read this book because I was standing in on the second movie, or if I read it because I had watched the first movie.
I think that's what happened. I think you watched the movie and then you wanted to read the book.
Okay, so there we go. It's a really cute book. It's definitely like in the teenager realm, so if you don't really like girly teenage problems, don't read it. But it's a really cute book and the movie's really good, so. Next is One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus. I didn't really like this book. It had a really weird ending. It was really unsatisfying. Apparently they're making a TV show out of it, and I'm really curious to see how they do it. I don't really recommend the book. Next is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. This book is amazing. There is so much detail that goes into this book. I cannot believe it. The amount of work that must have gone into it is just absolutely crazy, and wow. It takes a little bit to get into, but I highly recommend reading it. Next up is P.S. I Still Love You, which is a sequel to All the Boys I've Loved Before. At this point, I think I was working on the second movie. As I said, it's like a really nice light series. The characters are really good, so. Next up is The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. This book I've read so many times. This book is about a boy who lives on a reservation and dreams of leaving it to become... I actually can't remember what it is because I also read Sherman Alexie's autobiography. He based Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian on his life, but he switched some of the elements around, so I get some of the details confused. Both books are amazing. The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian is really cool because it has like these drawings and cartoons in it. The protagonist is just so different from what you see nowadays in novels. The book really was ahead of its time, and I really love it. Next up is Obasan by Joy Kagawa. She is Japanese-Canadian. A lot of people think this book was autobiographical. It takes place during World War II after the bombing on Pearl Harbor, when Japanese people were basically kicked out of Canada, even if they were Canadian. They were rounded up into internment camps. It's a really hard book to read. I learned a lot. I didn't learn anything about that in school. Goes to show you what Canada covers up. Anyways, great book. I really recommend it, but it is a hard read. Next is the third book in the To All the Boys trilogy, Always and Forever Lara Jean. I've already said all I have to say on these books. A Great Reckoning by Louise Penny is the next one. This is number 12 in a series that I started 3 years ago now, and I'm just obsessed with Louise Penny. She's such a good writer. This series is so good. The first one is called Still Life, if you guys want to check it out. They're murder mysteries. Amazing. Next up is Where'd You Go, Bernadette? I didn't really like the book. It was written really weird. It was kind of like taking clippings from people's emails, and I don't know. It's really hard to describe. I didn't relate to any of the characters. I was just kind of going through like, okay, when am I gonna care? You know? After that is Glass Houses by Louise Penny, which is number 13 in that series that I was just talking about. Also a great book. Where the Sidewalk Ends is the next one. Shel Silverstein. All of his books are amazing. I had to get it for the nostalgia. The cartoons are a little more disturbing than I remember. Next up on the list is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. The Harry Potter books are so magical. They really are just absolutely amazing. I want to be a witch. Next up is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It is just one of a kind, honestly. It makes me want to be a better person, and it makes me want to, I don't know, live my life differently when I read it. I think it's one of those books that you need to just read over and over. It actually is one of those books where you read it through and then you want to start it over again. Or at least I want to start it over again. I highly recommend it. Next up is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I went to get it at the library and I was 63rd in line. And then thank goodness I got it for Christmas from Gig's mom. What an amazing book. What an amazing woman. Jesus. I highly recommend. Up next is My Not So Perfect Life by Sophia Kinsella. This book kind of sparked my acceptance of romance books. Next up is also by Sophia Kinsella. It's called Can You Keep a Secret? That one was really good too. Next up on the list is You Don't Have to Say You Love Me by Sherman Alexie. This is the book that is kind of like an autobiography. It's mostly about his mother. It is so amazing. I don't know how someone can be that good of a writer. It's kind of a mix of stories and poems, and it is both like heartbreaking and like uplifting, and highly recommend this book. Next book is Finding Audrey by Sophia Kinsella. This one is about a girl with anxiety. The only thing that kind of bothers me about this book, they talk about like this big event in her life, something that happened to her that brought on the anxiety, but they never tell you what the big event was. That kind of really bothered me. I just thought that was a little weird. The next two are also by Sophia Kinsella. The first one is I Owe You One, and the second one is Surprise Me. Honestly, cannot remember what I Owe You One was. I didn't really like Surprise Me. It was kind of a weird book. Next is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. When I freaking read that, I was like, this is the most well-written Harry Potter book in the whole series. The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I just finished this book a couple days ago. I cried. I laughed out loud. This book was like everything. It had a heartbreaking ending, like all the best romances do, unfortunately. There's a movie that I want to watch, but I'm also scared because the book was so good. I don't want to like taint it if the movie's not as good. 34 on the list is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which I just finished today. That book is so good. That's like another series of books that is just like, how do you put so much detail into that? Like all of the names are like so thought out. All of the events, especially that happened in that last book, The Deathly Hallows. It's just crazy. And number 35, Finding Chica by Mitch Albom. This book is heartbreaking. I don't know, some good life lessons. It's obviously more of a healing journey for the author. For those of you who don't know what it's about, I'm not gonna give it away, but a little girl dies, okay? They tell you on the first page, it's not a spoiler. It's just really heartbreaking. It's a true story. It's an easy read, it's a short book, and Mitch Albom is such a good writer. If you haven't read Tuesdays with Morrie, amazing. Anyways, those are my 35 books that I've read this year. Let me know what you guys have read this year, and if you have any book suggestions, please give me book suggestions. I am always looking for new books. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching Vlogmas. Bye!